Welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. Tony Diorio is an American musician and the original drummer and lyricist of hard rock band Bang. The three-piece band formed in 1969 in Philadelphia and consisted of guitarist Frankie Gilcken, bassist Frank Ferrara, and Tony on drums. The band released 3 albums and several singles during the early 1970s and initially called it a day in 1974. There are a trio of compilation albums, and the band's music has appeared on various artist releases over the years. After reuniting in the late 1990s, another 4 albums would be released in the new millennium, including the band's very first album, Death of a Country, which was originally shelved by Capitol, finally making its debut in 2011. Last year marks the band's latest release, Another Me. Well, welcome, Tony.
Hey.
Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being here. Well, take us back to the beginning.
So growing up, my dad was a friend of the manager of Bill Haley in the Comets.
Okay.
And this is because he was big in the late 50s. But in the late 50s, the early 60s, this manager brought over to my house a bunch of his albums.
Okay.
So I went down in the basement. I started playing Bill Haley's albums, and man, I got hooked on rock and roll. I was probably about 12 or 13. Then skip ahead about 4 or 5 years. I don't know how old. I'm 16 or 17, and I'm driving home one night, and I'm listening to the radio, and the DJ says, "I've got a new sound from this band from England called the Beatles." And he played "I Want to Hold Your Hand." I flipped out, man. And it was like, boom, I know what I want to do with my life. I want to play music.
Yeah.
So,
right. Well, I was going to ask you too about your dad. Were either one of your parents musically inclined at all?
No, they're both first generation. I'm a first generation American, Italian American.
Okay.
No, I had an incredible childhood. I mean, it was just, I was always, I would go to the creek and lift up rocks, and I just was always doing something. And my parents wanted to be American, so. Yeah. I mean, my father never raised a hand to me. Never. He never even raised his voice to me. My mother one time chased me around the table with a hairbrush. That was my extent of corporal punishment. She couldn't catch me. So growing up, I was just on basically, I had a silver spoon. I had everything I wanted. I didn't know anything different. I remember early on that, we had, housekeepers come in and all that, because we lived in some nice houses. And there was this black woman, Letitia, who I just loved. She would take care of me, make my lunch and stuff like that. When she died, I went to her funeral, went to her house, and it was a shotgun house, and she was poor. Yeah. She was a poor person. I'd never, I'm probably 9 or I don't know how old I was. I was young, and I had never seen poor before. And that just always stuck with me that these people were poor. So my dad started, when he came over, he started a chain of store. He started a 5 and 10 cent store. And since his name was Diorio, he couldn't call it that, because when the Italians were looked down upon when he came over, we were wops without papers and that stuff. And he started, so it was a Richardson variety store, eventually getting like 6 stores. We had 6 stores. I grew up in that, starting with a stock boy, managing stores. I eventually took over the whole chain of stores. This is and this is around when I'm about 25 or 26. I started to play. I wanted to play music, so I started playing drums in my basement. I had 3 kids, and I was driving everybody nuts. And,
yeah.
So I'm running stores. I got 3 kids, and then I see this ad in the paper. It's 3 days after Woodstock. I see this ad in the paper, looking for drummer.
Uh-huh.
So I called up, and it was the 2 Franks, so 2 16-year-old guys. And I said, "Hey, I'm a drummer. I've been playing for like 2 years. I played on with all the major bands of the era. These guys have been playing since they were, in their mother's womb. So just incredible players. So I played on stages with the best drummers in the world. I've been
Well,
playing for years.
yeah. Let me ask you this: you didn't go to Woodstock, did you?
No,
Okay.
no, Frank did.
Oh,
Frank,
okay.
yeah. In
Oh, he
fact,
did.
there's a thing about Woodstock. Whenever they see it, he's in one of the he's in one of the frames. It's funny.
Oh, is he really?
So I went.
Oh,
And they had a place up in Philly that they were practicing in, and
wow.
they had these two guys that managed them who were managers of the Soul Survivors. I don't know if you ever remember them back from.
Yes, 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 I do.
And there was this shotgun place up in second floor rehearsal hall. So I went up there and met them, and man, we just immediately we hit it off. They're 16, I'm 26, three kids running chain of stores, but we had our music was in common, and so we called ourselves the Magic Band. We didn't know about
That was
Captain Beefheart at the time.
right, right.
So
Let me ask you this first
yeah.
before. What did your wife think about all this? You know, you're married, you have kids, that you wanted to go play in a band.
Well, she was into it too. It was rock and roll,
Okay, okay, all right.
So, but I did drive them nuts because then we ended up at some point the whole family moved to Fort Lauderdale. But we'll get to that.
Okay.
So we're the Magic Band, and we're three-piece, and we're just not sure of ourselves. I had been writing stuff for years, like on a second Capitol album, Mother Bow to the King. Bow to the King was about Muhammad Ali,
Yeah.
which was a poem that I wrote years before the Franks. And at one point I said, "Hey," they made it into a great song. So anyway, we tried keyboard players, we tried frontmen, we ended up just the three of us. We had this frontman, his name was CJ. He was on crack or coke, whatever he was. We were practicing. We eventually moved from Philly into this basement of one of my stores, one of the stores I was running. The ceiling was about this high. You'll see pictures of it.
Yeah.
And this is another funny thing. CJ, he was like a blues guy. He could sing, he could build them out. One day we're practicing and he's singing and he stops and he just puts down the mic and he starts running, go up the stairs. And he says, "Hey guys, I gotta go. I'll see you later." We never saw him again. He just disappeared off the face of the earth. So we decided, yeah. We're like, boom. So what would happen is there was these metal gates on the sidewalk outside from the basement, and we practiced. We were loud. I mean, everything. We were loud, and the kids in the neighborhood used to come and hang out and listen to us practice. We spent 18 months in that basement just rehearsing. We played out 3 times in 18 months. Our 4th gig was with Rod Stewart. Deep Purple. You read it.
I wanted to hear about your first gig, your very first gig.
The first gig was actually in CJ's, where CJ lived in a mental institution, and we played there.
Yes.
But I have a picture of it. Everybody was just sitting around drooling. First gig at the mental institution. Everything from there was just up, So
what was the response? Do you remember the audience? The audience.
I think they were just nodding. I was reading Rolling Stones magazine, and the headline was "Group Bang in USA," and I thought, "Wow, what a great name for a band!" But then I read it, and it was saying English groups bang, and in those they were exploding in USA. I says, "Bang, that's the name. Heavy, that fits our music perfectly." So we were Bang.
You were Bang. Well, when was it that you opened? Not you, that Bruce Springsteen opened for you as an acoustic act. When was that?
This was probably. I don't know. It was months after we had signed with Capitol.
Oh, okay.
Here's let me bring you right into that, because this stuff that happened to us is just incredible. You saw that fact sheet of things we did, things that happened. So we played at the Insane Asylum. We played a couple place in Rockford Park. in Delaware, an outdoor little thing with people. And so I saw this. I don't even remember where I saw it, but there's this. Uh, I heard. Oh no, no, we were up to this bar we would go to. We played their picnic. That was our other gig, the Anvil and Picnic. And the band playing, the bass player was from the Spooky. Did the song Spooky, Classics 4.
Classics 4.
He was the bass player. And so I was, hey, this guy was just had a hit, So I went up to talk to him. Man, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And he tells me there's this record distributor in Miami, and he's looking for groups. They had a hit out. It was a novelty song called Window Washing Woman. It was a novelty song. And I said, looking for groups?
Yeah.
The following week, I went to the bank. I took out a loan for $1,000. We rented a U-Haul. We packed up all our equipment. I've got all these postcards. I had this rubber stamp made that said "Bang is in Miami," and we mailed out about 200 postcards to Walter Cronkite, Lassie, record labels. And it said something's about to happen. Bang is in Miami. And so we hopped onto the I-35 or I-70, 75, whatever it was, 95.
Okay.
Heading to Miami, okay, because we're gonna, hey, the destiny is waiting for us at Tones. So we're driving and we notice we're out of pot. So we're right outside of Orlando. So we said, well, let's go inside and let's go into the boardwalk, see if we can find some pot. This is how rolling papers launched our careers. I mean,
yeah.
we go into up on the boardwalk and we're looking around because long hairs were a rarity back then. So people look at us strange because we were hippies. Long hair, I had hair down to here, and so we found this other guy looked just like us, and we bought like 4 fingers of Columbia for $15, something like that. So we didn't have any rolling papers. So we're looking around, and there was this record store called Duck Soup on the boardwalk. So they have rolling papers. So the guy was just locking up and say, hey, we just need to get some rolling papers. And he lets us in. I see the sign in the window that says Battle of the Bands this weekend, blah, blah, blah. And so we're getting our roller papers. And I said, hey, man, that's that sign in the window, Battle of the Bands. We're a band. Where is it? Can we play? Can we get in it? And this guy said, well, that was last week, but Rod Stewart's in Orlando. Maybe you can go there and play. Ha ha.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
I get back. So we had a tent because we were staying in a tent. So we're just getting higher and shit. And I said, we're going to go to Orlando and we're going to play with Rod Stewart. That's what we're going to do in the morning. We packed up our stuff. We headed to Orlando. We get there. And we were able to drive right onto the whole area, the parking area. There wasn't anybody there because it was like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So we're looking around and, what's going on? And so I see this door. And so it's like, boom, boom. I just started knocking on it. It said private. I started knocking on the door. And the door opened. This real tall guy opens the door and he looks at us and I says, we're Bang from Philadelphia. We're as good as any goddamn band here, and we want to play tonight. We got our equipment out in the let us set up, listen to us. If you like us, let us open the show. If not, we'll just leave. And it was like, I clanged my balls in front of this guy. He says, okay, set up. So we set up in the wherever it was there in the parking lot, and it was Rick Bowen, and he was the owner of Concerts West, who I'm sorry, East Coast Concerts, who partnered with Concerts West, the biggest concert promoter in the world.
Right.
So we played and we did Death of our early stuff because we spent 2 years worked. Death of a Country, we could play it forwards and backwards because we had played it so many times and 18 months of practice. So he says, okay, you guys can open up for the show. It's like, wow, yeah, okay. So we set up our we set up, we had named roadies. So we set up our equipment it was basically on the edge of the stage because it was Rod Stewart, Deep Purple, Matthew Southern Comfort,
Oh, yeah.
and somebody else. I forget who it was. Rod Stewart and Faces, Deep
Yes.
Purple, Matthew Southern Comfort, and Bang. So we go, it's time for us to go on. So we go on the stage, and I mean, the stage is like 3 feet in front of me. And we do like a 20, and there's like 7 or 8,000 people there. We never played in front of this many people. People were still coming in, but so we did like about a 20-minute set, and got a really good reception. And then we came off stage and people were clapping, that. So we go backstage, and our equipment, we had to go out and get our own equipment. So
Yeah.
I,
You
I,
didn't, you didn't have any
I'm
road.
on the edge of the stage, and I'm breaking my kit down, my drum kit, these people are looking at me like, man, aren't you the drummer? So, and they were like right here, like 2 feet
Yeah.
from. So we
Yeah.
picked up our stuff back, and it was like, wow, wait till we get home and tell the people
You're
we
right.
did. This is incredible. This was a success.
Right.
So the guy, Rick Bowen, comes back and he says, I have a motel in Fort Lauderdale. I want you guys to go down there, and I will see you in a couple of days. I want to talk to you. Yeah. So the motel was Escape Motel. And it was definitely a party place. So we went down there. A couple of days later, we went and met him at the airport, and we picked up. He says, "Hey, how would you guys like to play with Steppenwolf in Richmond at the ball stadium?" I was like,
Yeah.
"No, we won't." So we did that, and then from there we went to, only bands we didn't play with: Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, maybe one or two others. Everybody else we played with, from Black Sabbath to you talked about Springsteen opened for
Yep.
us. We opened for, there was bands that we opened for who became monsters.
Right.
So immediately we started playing these monster gigs because we would just go open up for Dr. John, or we would go open up for, I can't think of all these names.
Well, I can't imagine going back to Bruce, because I only know him with his E Street, the whole band. I can't imagine him as an
That was an
acoustic.
acoustic act. There was one of we opened up for Ike and Tina Turner.
Yeah, that's another.
It was twerking and heavy metal. The crowd was like, "What?"
Yeah, what an odd pairing that was, right?
I mean, that was Rick was putting on that show.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear about this too. You were the first band to use fireworks and a shotgun in a live show. But you changed your mind and stopped about the shotgun in your show.
Let's talk about shotgun. So what would happen is on our Bang album, when you open the album up, there's a guy in a hat, and he's got a black outfit on, and he's got the gun in the barrel. Well, we had our road manager dress up like him, and to open the show, he would come out with a shotgun, and he'd go boom, boom, and then boom, we would start in. We blew out the sound system twice because the sound guy never turned the volume down. So, and at the end of the show, the roadie he'd be sitting right next to me, and at the end of the show I'm all over the place. It's crescendo, and the music building, and people are going nuts. And he'd hand me the shotgun, and I'd go boom, boom, and that would end. Until one time, I'm sitting there playing, boom. he put his hand on the trigger, and it right here, right shot. That's when we used the shotgun. And it's funny, the fireworks. It was only something like about 8 feet wide, about this high, maybe 4 foot high. It cost like $39, and it would be above me, and a roadie would light it, and it would flash. They would flash, bang, in red, white, and blue. And when we played with Black Sabbath, we did that. I got a whole story about Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And we're playing, and we're in the crescendo, and it's just building and building. And the roadie lights the thing, and it goes off, and the audience just stood up because they're all sitting down. They stood up and started rushing the stage. They never, they hadn't seen fireworks before. I'm gonna tell you about Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
We'll
I
look
want
at
to hear
Black
about.
Sabbath. These are our idols. We
Hey,
play bang music
you're right.
and Black
You
Sabbath.
didn't start. Let me ask you before you go into that. You didn't start any fires, did you, with the
No,
fireworks?
no,
Okay,
but we had to stop because the fire marshals
fire marshal.
they
Yeah.
were not happy about it. The place was filled with smoke, but it was cool.
Okay, go
So
into Black Sabbath.
first
Go
and
into
the
Black.
last. I mean, of course, the pyrotechnics. This is go way back,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're opening for Black Sabbath. And like I said, we idolize these guys because we played Black Sabbath music and bang music, and then maybe one other band. That was it. And so here we are. We're going to open up for Black Sabbath. So we go to the show. Actually, we go and there, we spend the day with them, wherever they were staying. That was Grand Funk. Black Sabbath. We were back in the dressing room, and we're talking about cheesesteaks. And Ozzy says, "What's a bloody cheesesteak? Philadelphia cheesesteak."
Right.
Well, we ate them all. They're like bread to us. It was communion. You need a cheesesteak. That was our communion. So we introduced Black Sabbath. We introduced the Prince of Darkness to a cheesesteak,
Yeah.
right? And he loved it. And he asked. He says, "Why is everybody doing this in the concerts?"
Right.
And Frankie says, "Well, that means boogie, or it means peace." And he says, "Because all you Americans do that." Next album cover.
He's doing that. Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was an influence on Black Sabbath. After the show, we had played. This was in someplace in South Carolina, and we had played there a couple of times before. So there was a lot of people there to see us,
Yeah.
and the in the paper and on the radio, whatever, they said that we blew Black Sabbath off the stage. I mean, it was just one of our best concerts, especially when the fireworks went off and people rushed the stage because I was in fear for my life there for a minute.
Yeah.
That was Black Sabbath.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how did you guys come to sign with Capitol? Do you remember how that
Yeah,
happened?
so Rick, first thing we did with Rick, our music was Death of a Country, which was a concept album, and it was all about pollution and all, I was into all that. I was into life, death, God, the devil. No, not the devil, but more. I had a spiritual nature to me. All my stuff is positive. I always wrote positive music or lyrics. So the song was like one of the songs is "My Window." It was a guy sitting in the electric chair, and all he had was "My window," and it's him talking, and almost all my stuff is in first person. So Frank singing it. It was him. It was a first person song. It was like "My window." Certainly meaningless was another song. All the lyrics meant nothing. They just I just used weird words. They made it rhymed and everything, but it was meaningless. I wasn't trying to. So we went into Criteria, big time. That's when all the big bands were going. You walk in there and there's guitars, cases everywhere, and we recorded "Death of a Country." We did the whole thing almost in one take because we knew it so well, and then just did some overdubs. And Ron and Howie Albert were the producers, and the guy who produced the Bee Gees, "Staying Alive" and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's his name? He was the engineer, so he went on to do So we had some, and we got into all this cross phasing, all this psychedelic shit. And so Rick took it to Capitol, and Capitol wasn't interested. So it was a concept album, and basically the reason that the Capitol signed us was that because who our managers were. They were going to put us on the biggest concert stages of. I mean, if there was ever going to be a band that make it, this was us guys because we're going to be in front of everybody. So
Right.
Capitol signed us to a 3-album deal, and they said, they didn't want Death of a Country. We released it on CD many years later.
Yes.
So this producer came Michael Sunday, And we're at this point we're living in Fort Lauderdale, and we're practicing the Sportatorium where Rick would put on his concerts in Miami Sportatorium. Uh, so that's where we rehearsed. We rehearsed in this big auditorium. And so he came and he listened to our stuff, and and he said, "Look, I'll be back in 2 weeks. Write me an album." So we wrote the Bang album in 2 weeks, and it's a classic. And
Yeah.
he came back, and it was like, wow. And then our hit, we reached #1 in Hong Kong with Questions, by the way.
Questions, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't even want to put it on the thing, and it was like we always no, we gotta put that. That's our best song. So they put it on there. So things were going incredibly great with Capitol. Everybody, the whole organization loved this. They had Bang Day at Capitol Records. So
Yeah.
so the night before, we go. Frank and I are just walking around in Hollywood, and there's nobody. It's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's there. So we walk across the street in the middle of the block, like we would in Claymont, Delaware. You just walk across the street. Who's going to go to a corner and walk? So suddenly these cops come out, raise your hands, and they bust us for jaywalking, and they arrest us, and they take me and Frank to jail, and they put us in jail for jaywalking. And we're thinking, tomorrow's Bang Day. Today's Bang Day, and we're in jail. Called Rick. Rick, come get us. So eventually we went to, later on we went to court, and it got dropped. We gave the judge and everybody albums and stuff like that. So the next morning, I'm tired because I spend the night in jail. Unbelievable, spend the night in jail. We go to Capitol Records. We walk in the door, and album covers everywhere, balloons, bang this, bang that, bang. We get in the elevator. We're going to go up to the upstairs. Bang music is playing in the elevator. Hearing Future Shock in the elevator. So we get up to the executive floor, and is the president of Capitol, the president of EMI, all the top brass of the whole thing. And we got a great picture of us. And we're just three hippie-looking people. And so we meet the executives and all that. So everything's going great for things. So we went to the party. They had a big party. So what are they doing? They're showing porn videos, like Debbie does ballad, and it's a porn video, like the Keystone Cops. It was a silent thing, like an old turn of the century thing, and I mean I was just embarrassed. I walked in there playing porn for Bang, and so that's what happened. So we had this great party, and things were happening, and we're moving up the charts. Everything's going great. We're America's answer to Black Sabbath. Suddenly there's a upheaval at Capitol. All the people that work Bang, vice president down to the guys in the mail department, everybody got fired or laid off, and a whole new group of people come in who had bands that they wanted, their bands they wanted to work. Overnight, it stopped. The promoting Bang, it just stopped. And so we did come out with the next album, Bang, and Mother About to Decay, and then we come out with a third album called Music. And after Michael Sunday, the producer, we got this Putz. I don't mention his name, who produced the Mother About to the King and the Music album. And our music was changing. They were changing our music. Capitol asked us to write a song like I Am Woman.
I Am Woman. Yeah. Helen Reddy.
Oh yeah, we'll go right to it.
Yeah, right. We can do that. Hey, you know what? I wanted to chime in on that because it's interesting doing these interviews, the connections that I find.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I have an upcoming interview with the writer of that song, Ray Burton, the Australian, who wrote that.
High. We turned him down.
Yeah, for I Am Woman. We're just working out the details, but yeah, isn't that interesting? That's what I find out doing these is like, wow, I just talked to somebody about that, or you were on the same label as this guy. It's wild. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So
So
you go ahead. Go ahead.
we did the Guess Who, No Sugar Tonight. We did a version of that.
Yeah.
Well, before that, we're going into the studio for the second album, Mother Bow to the King, which was about Muhammad Ali, Bow to the King.
Yes.
And this putz of a producer, I come into the studio. We had already been in Criterion. We'd done like three tracks of
Yeah.
songs with. So we went out to California to the guy that recorded everybody from the Stones, just big time recording studio, Sound Factory.
Okay.
And I'm walking in there, and there's some guy sitting sitting at the drums. I said, "What's going on? I'm the drummer. What's going on?" No, I'm being told you're not going to play the drums. They're bringing in Bruce Gary, the Knack.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Incredible drummer. He started playing when he was 5. I had been playing drums for 3 years, and so Bruce did all the songs there. They deleted my tracks from Miami, and Doris Maxwell came in and redid my tracks. I mean, I was so I loved playing drums. It was, it was me. I was playing drums, man. I take off my shirt. I looked great. I sweated good, had long hair. I was, Italian.
Yeah.
And suddenly this was me. So I said, okay, I'll keep practicing. If you listen to my stuff on the first album, it's good.
Yeah.
It's not Bruce Gary, but it's good. It fits the music. It says, "Oh, I'll practice more." So I'm, blah, blah, blah. And it got to the point where I just had it, and I left the band in the middle of the album, Mother Bow to the King, our second Capitol album, and I went back home. I went from rock and roll to selling white socks, and so they finished the album, and they said they dedicated it to me, and I was so pissed off at the Franks that they didn't just stand up and say, "No, man, this is not." But they were 16, they were 17, and they were just intimidated by everything.
Yeah.
And the producer, JS, so his initials, was changing our music. It was just, they brought on the third album, they brought the Raspberries to sing backup.
Right. Yeah.
And so, the songs are good,
Yeah.
but they're pop songs. We had lost our identity. They just looked totally. Capitol wanted to make us more commercial,
Right.
and so that's what they were pushing.
That's what happened. I think you lost a lot of fans there with the third album going so pop. A lot of fans are probably like, "What is going on here?"
Too. So
right.
Then what happens is right after the second album, we have a thing with Rick, our manager. I'm up in Delaware, and anyway, Franks had called him and he told him, "Don't you call me ever this time of night again." There's just something was going on. So I took over management of the band. I became the manager of Bang, and because the Franks were 17 when they signed the contract, you got to be 18 in California, so they didn't have to do that. So I'm in Claymont, Delaware, up in the office, and I'm talking to these people about this tour. I negotiated the third album with Capitol. We go out and do the music album with JC producing. So we're everything is going. We got a guitar player and a drummer. So it was a 4-piece thing. We did we played at the we played some festival. We were playing. Suddenly we couldn't get a gig. Nobody would hire us.
Yeah.
Rick and Concerts West blackballed us. They said, "If you hire Bang, you'll never see any of our acts." Nobody would hire us. We could not get a gig. And it was like, the big rock just came down. It was like, it's over, man. There's nothing we can do. So we just split, and then we did get back together and did things. But that was the end.
Yeah, I wanted to go back a couple of things back before you did split.
Yeah.
some of the bands that you played. A couple that I wanted to ask you about, Blood Rock,
Yeah,
who is from our neck of the woods, Fort Worth. You
yeah,
know, yeah,
yeah. In fact,
they're from over here, and they had that hit DOA.
yeah,
I remember and playing it on the radio. And to discourage young kids from driving drunk or being more careful behind the wheel. And it was a very somber track, but I
it was
can
good. I
barely.
loved it. They were
Yeah, I did
capital
too.
acts. Yeah,
I did too, with that siren. Oh yeah, it's
yeah.
classic.
This lead singer, what's his name?
Yeah, I'm trying to think
I,
of his name
I
too.
became pretty good friends with him because I was living in Dallas and he was living in Fort Worth.
Yeah, Fort Worth.
But
And
we've
then I
met
want
around California. Yeah, Blood Rock.
Blood Rock, and I wanted to ask you too about Fleetwood Mac opening for
Fleetwood
you.
Mac opened for us.
Yeah, who was in the band at that time? Because that was before Stevie and Lindsey, right? Wasn't
I
it?
believe so.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
maybe,
don't remember. I don't know. But it
and
was
maybe,
for us in that sportatorium.
yeah, it may have been Bob Welch. When Bob Welch was with them, it may have been that time period.
I got a
Yeah.
story about Grand Funk.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear that
So
because one of my favorite bands.
yeah, a great band. I loved it. They were like we were patting ourselves after Black Sabbath and Grand Funk. The energy of Grand Funk.
Uh-huh.
I loved the drummer. He just which reminds me. Let me remind me to tell you about what's his name. It'll come to me. Anyway, we spent the day with uh, Grand Funk. We went to see him out at their where they were staying, and that night we went to the concert. The thing I remember about this is what I remember about Grand Funk, and I'm on the side of the stage, and I think the concert's going on, and they got the big boxes, for equipment boxes, and I see this roadie open up the lid of this big chest. And there's about 300 harmonicas in there. Like 300 of them just stacked to throw. I never seen so many harmonicas. That just impressed me. He was like, wow, 300 harmonicas. He's equipped.
Getting those
Jimi
away.
Hendrix.
Oh,
Way
okay.
back now to when we were practicing in Philly, and the two managers got us. We went to see a Jimi Hendrix, Chicago, someplace else in Philly. So we went to the concert, and the Franks and I have two different histories of what happened here. I'm gonna tell you what I remember happening.
Okay.
So actually on the stage, and I'm behind the amps, and Jimmy's doing this thing, and he runs his guitar into the speaker. After the concert, Frankie went to the roadies. Does he want that?
Yeah.
Because he was using, after he just had a cheap thing. He wanted Marshalls. He finally got his Marshalls too. And but Jimmy was just drunk, man. I was just very disappointed. But then he just burned his thing. But he was like 15 feet in front of me, and I was watching. I was like, wow. Hey,
Yeah. Well, talk about the playing the Mar y Sol Pop Festival in Puerto
all right.
Rico.
So, God. So our manager Rick had a friend who had a plane. It was like a World War II bomber or something. It was just this big old plane, right? And it was totally unfinished inside. They had a actual sofa just nailed down to the floor. So we take off. This thing just barely gets off the ground. So we're taking off. We're headed to Fort Lauderdale, and we're going through the Bermuda Triangle. I mean, we're really actually, and suddenly the plane's flying, and suddenly the plane just drops and just falls like there's no air, and we're up at the ceiling, and this thing's just falling down, and I'm looking at the pilot, and he's up there trying to pull it. So he finally got the thing,
Under
up.
control.
We get to Fort Lauderdale. I mean, we get to Mauricio in Puerto Rico, and he lands the plane, and one of the tires blows out. And
Oh,
So the whole weekend, our plane is sitting at the end of the runway like this with a flag. All the bands are coming in. Everybody that played was there on that one. And they would just say, it's Bang's playing. So we got some local guys to take the equipment from the plane out to the concert site. It was out somewhere in the jungle. And we stayed at this hotel. It was all ritzy, and these people would pay tons of money, and all these hippies have taken over this place, all these long hair freaks. And we flew from the hotel in a helicopter out to the concert site. I mean, it was so cool flying over my first helicopter trip, flying out to flying over to the jungle. So we go on this first day, second day, I think it was about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 1,000 degrees on stage. I remember I burnt my fingers on my cymbal, and I was only able to play. I put it all out there. I mean, I put everything I had into it. And with that heat, I could only play for about 20 minutes. And I was just totally ready to pass out because the humidity and the heat was so bad. So we finished the thing, and everybody could see that the thing was starting to sort of fall apart. A couple of the bands weren't showing up. There was stabbings out in the audience and this kind of business. And so we go back to the hotel, and in the meantime, they had gotten the plane fixed. And this is another thing, like it's part of the movie. So the people that had our equipment wouldn't give it to us. The roadies are out there at the site, and they wouldn't give it. They wouldn't bring the equipment back. Really? So the roadies hot wired their truck, got in their truck, drove back with our equipment. Their truck, they stole it. They came to the hotel and got it. Says, we gotta go. So we all rushed to the airport, and we throw our equipment into the plane. And I swear to God, as we're taxiing around and we're taxiing down, here comes a pickup truck with about 6 guys in it, with machetes right at us, And so the pilot just pushes it full. So they just whip off to the side. And I'm looking out the window, and they're still chasing us down the runway.
You know what that reminds me of? What? Jim Jones in Guyana.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
How they're running away, and then the newscaster that was there and everything.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that
was another one of those.
You should make a movie. Definitely, you should.
Yeah, better get on it quick.
Right. Well, you
got the book, right?
Huh?
You got the book.
Yes. And that's very, very, like I said, very in depth, very, very detailed. Well,
the only thing I didn't like about it was I appreciate the guy that did it from the book people, but he was the guy that did baseball stories and so he had lots of facts and dates and stuff, and it was like I rewrote the thing basically, but they wouldn't. We never went any further. I wanted it to be first person, and I didn't want it to start here. It had to start 3 days. It's 3 days after Woodstock. I see an ad in the paper. We're looking for drummer. That's when the story starts, not in Italy with Frank Ferrara. So
right. No, I like the way it was. I like the way it was put together. I do. I like that. Yeah. Well, the Mother Bow to the King. I think that's probably my favorite album. Yeah, that's it. And the very first song I heard from Bang was off of that album. Keep on. Yeah, it was on a Various Artists compilation.
You heard Bruce play that thing? Bruce could play, man.
Yeah.
He could play. I was just, we became friends, at later on. But great job. He died a number of years ago.
Yeah.
But he was good.
Well, the one thing about the music album, you guys used the Mellotron.
Yes. First one.
Yeah, one of the first bands to use that, and that's one of my favorite instruments. I love the sound that bands get from the Mellotron.
Very melodic album.
Yeah, yes it is.
Well, Bang was, the difference. What made us different, that we were heavy. We helped form the name heavy metal, but we were melodic. The melody,
Yes.
Frank could come up with some good melodies,
Yeah.
and so we were in, and we had tremendous Beatle influence. So let me tell you about Beatles.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're practicing. We're practicing in the basement, and I get the idea. Man, let's call Paul in England. So you just want to get something happening. You know, how can we make this? How can I make this band happen?
Yeah.
So I look up Abbey Road Studios and I go in and call, and guy answers the phone. I said, "Hey, is Paul there?" And the guy says, "No, this is the janitor. I'm cleaning up. Mr. McCartney will be in tomorrow if you want to call back." And I said, "Okay." They hung up and they were doing Let It Be at that time. He
Oh,
never called back.
oh, wow.
No, let's call Paul.
Yeah, I could see after he hung up, Paul saying to John, I just pretended I was the janitor, you know.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
right.
that could be true. That could be. I never thought of that.
Right? Yeah, you never know.
I believe
Well,
that.
what did you guys when the band called it a day? What in '74? What did you and the other guys do after that?
The Franks, both of them moved to Frankie was in a band called Texas for about 5 years, and a great band, great club band, you know. But he was just, you know, he was after doing what we did, you know, it was a tough nut for all of us because we were denied, you know, the whole thing with the thing with capital and the money, and it was just like, you know, everything just came crashing down because the future was incredibly bright, you know. All the I remember the band Rhinoceros.
Yes, Rhinoceros.
I
Yeah,
remember that early on, I said, I just want us to be bigger than Rhinoceros, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
because I loved their music. It was good. And so everything that came crashing down, I went back to the retail business. And so what I did was this is discounters were starting to come out, you know, and we were running 5 and 10 cent stores, variety stores. And I saw the writing on the wall. You know, I was ready to do something. So I started going to Philly and New York and buying closeouts.
Oh, okay.
So we would just stack and we would just stack these things on the floor, cut open the boxes, and so I started with a couple of stores like that. And then right before Christmas, there was this retailer or a wholesaler out of Philly who had millions of dollars worth of Mattel toys. This is, you know, the Hot Wheels and GI Joe, and all this, and they had tons of this stuff. And I said, hey, so I went out there and I was buying this stuff for pennies on the dollar. And I
Wow.
bought a shitload of this, all this Mattel, all the stuff. And I was selling GI, all the big retailers just kind of were coming to me and looking, how can I was selling it cheaper than they could buy it, and I was making a profit. I bought 100,000 uh, Hot Wheels that were selling for 79 cents dollar. I sold
Oh,
them four for a dollar, and GI Joe dolls for $2. So I had found another element for me personally that I was, you know, I was doing it. I was happy. You know, I was able to just let my mind just go and do things. I mean, I was buying. We have jars of pig's feet
yeah,
next to
yeah.
white socks, just for the effect. When people come to the store, they see pig feet and white socks, stacks of it. And I would buy paper towels. I'd buy a boxcar load of paper towels, Scott tissues, right out of in Pennsylvania, and they were all either misprints and no cellophane on them. And I was selling them for like five for a dollar, you know, just some ridiculous. You know, I'm talking about a boxcar
Right,
of
right,
paper
right.
towels.
You know, you know,
I was
it's
having
it's it's
fun.
it's wild how they will discount stuff. Like you said, if it's a misprint or there's a little mar, a little scratch, or people today, even like with furniture and stuff, you get some good stuff. There may be a little scratch on the back of a sofa. and then they discount it. They throw it down. So what? Once you get that stuff, you're going to have more scratches to it. You're
Yeah.
more dents and dings. But it's wild how people will discount that kind of stuff if it's not in pristine condition. But
So
yeah,
Frank was, and then Frank moved to California. Frankie was, I think, moved out there too, and so at some point we got back together. I moved up to Delaware because I was living in Fort Worth, and Frank lived in Linwood, which is right on the Delaware state line, and Frankie lives uh, someplace in Delaware. So I think it was 90 or 98, whatever it was. I moved back out to Delaware. So the three of us back together again. And it was like nothing had changed. We just started writing songs. We wrote Return to Zero,
yeah, RTZ. Well, what
and
caused that? What led to you guys getting back together? What led to that?
I really don't remember uh, why I moved back up. I just was, the things weren't going well down here. I moved to Texas and I got into I'm thinking when I moved to Texas, it's only a matter of weeks or months before I'm back in the music business and everything's going to be good. Let me find something that I can do just to make a little bit of money until my next big break comes. So I started roofing. Storm windows, aluminum siding, all this other stuff. And then I got into kitchens. And 40 years later, I spent 30 or 40 years building custom kitchens and I had cabinet shops and all this. I did all that shit, remodeling and construction, commercial, residential. So this was another thing, but my heart was always with music.
Music.
And with I loved playing drums, and they were taken from me, and I never got back. I never went back to it. I couldn't. It was so. God, years just went by like that. And then we did RTZ. The Franks got together at different times. They did I couldn't go, but they went to Europe twice, and I had to sit at home while they were in Europe. But it was a back of a truck thing, like the early days. Although we didn't go through that much, because we had roadies. They were in the back in the truck, and we rode in a car. What else?
Oh, what else? What else? Well, then you had the Maze in 2004.
The Maze, Rick Bowen. We got hooked up with Rick, our manager, again, because he had a studio.
Uh-huh.
And it's in Savannah, in Georgia.
In Georgia. Okay.
Went down there, and over the course of time, we started recording the Maze, and Rick produced it. Got great sounds, and Rick, we got string. We did some production numbers. We did a couple of songs from the RT. We redid "Bow to the King" with strings, and a couple of songs we redid on that. But Maze album's got some great songs on it, and because we just sold them as CDs. Nobody buys CDs anymore.
Right.
I mean, it's everything's streaming.
Streaming, right. Right. That's right.
So that was it was fun. We'd have Donna, his wife, we'd have these big meals of crabs and fish and all that Savannah stuff, and it was fun. We just spent the recording studio was always probably the best fun I've ever had. Just sitting there, layering your songs, and actually writing some songs. Rick had a song that he had done. It was called "Isle of Hope," and he gave me a version of it without any lyrics and anything. So I rewrote the whole song of "Isle of Hope." And one of my best lines ever is the opening lines. It's if I can get it, lost in the distance of another time, lost in the distance of another life, my destiny, the Isle of Hope.
Yeah, I like that.
My best lines.
I like that. Well, speaking of recording, you enjoyed that in the recording studio. Looking back on the whole career, Did you prefer that, the writing and the recording, or playing live?
I enjoyed playing live. I like I said, I'd only been playing drums 3 years. And so I had to. If anybody wants to know, just listen to the Bang album. I'm there. I did some things that they don't know what I did, but because I was just doing some. I was always trying to do something different on the drums with what I could do. And so losing that, I got over it. Except the guy that caused it. I have nothing for him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's it's like you got to stop breathing. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a rock and roll star. What? I can't play drums? What are you talking about?
Once it's in your blood, once it's in
A
your
picture of
blood,
me sitting in the studio
yeah,
with him and the engineer, uh, and it's Tony getting fired. It's a picture of me getting. I'm just sitting there. I got this look on my face because I was telling him I'm not going to play drums.
yeah, yeah.
And
Wow.
I hold it against the Franks and Rick. Well, Rick,
Yeah.
because he knew the Franks. Like I said, I didn't blame them because they were 17, and it was like and I don't know how it was to them. You're not going to happen with this guy playing. Whatever, blah blah blah. So the guy would just really talk me down.
Yeah, yeah. Well, finally in 2011, Death of a Country saw its official release. How and who released the
We
album?
did. We just record. We did all those other CDs. We just did it on the Bang Music label. I just made up. I went and got the CDs produced, and we'd sell them on our website. And then, of course, we put stuff up on not band something that streams our music.
Yeah, Bandcamp.
Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Although if you go to d10r10.com, the thing for Bang, I got every song on there
Yeah.
and I have asterisks. I did not write these words. There's about 7 or 8 songs out of 90 or that I didn't write, and I got the lyrics and a picture that I would get images that spoke of what the thing was about. And some of them, I made videos to some of the songs, like Our Home, and I made about 7 or 8 Bang videos, and you can get a link to the video that I made for the songs. And anyway, every song's there, and you can hear them all. You don't have to. I guess you
Go ahead. Go ahead and mention that site again. Go ahead and mention that.
It's d10r10.com. D10R10. That's my personal page. You see my picture. I hear words.
Yes, there you
So
go.
you're going back about the songs. I spent all these years initially with Bang. I'd have a blank sheet of paper in front of me, and because I would write poetry earlier on, and I wrote everything in rhyme. Everything I wrote was in rhyme, which is tough, to keep us. I would go to like the rhyme zone before I would go to a dictionary but a rhyme zone, and I can get all these different rhymes, and I could just take a song. Oh, that'll work. I'll just go this way. I'll just go this way. So I'm looking at a sheet of paper, and it's like, okay, let me think of an idea. I got to write a song, and all those albums, all of them except for this last one, was that way. Initially, I'd have a blank sheet of paper, and I'd stare at it until I could come up with something, and then I would start writing it, and I would just hammer it out. Then years later, I had an annoying blinking cursor looking at me because I had a computer. And it's cursor that I'm waiting for inspiration to turn a word, something. I call it Frank. Look, give me a word. Give me something. Give me a title. I'll write the song. Just give me a title. And a couple of. And then, like I said, when in 2019, when we were working on the last album, I discovered this royalty-free music, and the melodies were all there. They were just beautiful melodies, and I'd sit there and I hear words, and especially my Santa stuff. It's for kids 5, 6, 7 years old, and great sing-along stuff. and all the words show up on the bottom. It's
Yeah.
like a karaoke thing.
Right.
But I did 70 of these things while these guys were working on the album. I did 70 videos. So that in the last album, I did the same thing. I would take a song, like a theme song that was in Spanish or something,
Yeah.
and I put it in a audio program, and I would just have a selection like that. It's a verse or four, and I would just loop it, and I would just hear the words, and I do it, and then a chorus, and I would just hear, and it made, and I that's how I wrote the last album. And
Yeah.
just the other couple of days ago, I sent Frankie. I said I hadn't written a song in months, so I put up a song, and it was El Chapo, the theme
Uh-huh.
for El Chapo, and it's in Spanish, but the melody is strong, and I just write a song to the melody, and
Yeah.
I would never try and look at a blank sheet of paper again. I'll find a piece of music that
Okay.
that I hear a melody, and what do you want to hear? What do you want me to write about? I hear
Yeah.
words. That's what it's a little bit. I hear words
Uh-huh.
and people.
Yeah. Well, you said it took 3 years to put that
It's
album
about
together.
3 years. Well, actually, so the
Never.
songs were some of the songs like Two Angels, great song, Two Angels, and um, I saw the date. It was like 2012. I'd written that stuff. I mean, everything I wrote, I would send to Frank. And
Uh-huh.
so and some once in a while he would just go through and find something where a melody would jump out at him, just like
Yeah.
and it's so much easier when it's in rhyme. I give
Right.
rhyme. What's the problem, Frank? Come on, it's rhyming. You can't even go.
Right, right.
Uh,
Well, you mentioned before we started talking that a lot of the fans have passed away, the earlier ones.
yeah,
Do you hear from younger fans? Do you hear from any?
I'm not hearing from many fans at all.
Okay.
Really, the were the latest album. Uh, although it they they promoted the thing. I mean, I would go in and there'd be 50 retailers that
Yeah.
had taken orders, but just never clicked. That, to my knowledge, never clicked. Um, I heard from you.
Yeah, you heard from me. Yeah, you did.
I heard from you. Once in a while, but not so much anymore. Unless they go to the webpage,
Yeah.
bangmusic.com, and they'll see that the info at bangmusic.com is
Right.
they get in touch.
Right. Well, we'll see what kind of mileage we can get out of this.
Yeah.
Once I edit a little bit, and it takes about a week or so, week and a day or two, and I'll send you a link a link to it, and then you can put it on
Yeah,
your
we'll put it on the
website.
website. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll see what kind of comments we get. That's what I enjoy. It's reading those comments, and they may come out of the woodwork. You never
I hope.
know. You
I
know,
hope.
you never know, Tony.
So what did I forget? Is there anything out there
Oh
that's
yeah, yeah. See if you did you anything
uh,
else you wanted to mention?
that sheet that has the bang facts? It was an accumulation of all these weird things that happened to us, from Black Sabbath to um, I can't think. I'd have to pull it up, but I'm not going to.
That's okay. I think we touched on several. I think we talked about a few of them.
Oh, the first song we ever wrote together was "Death of a Country."
Yes.
I came up with a melody on one of my kids' little toy pianos. Dan, dan, dan.
Okay.
I started
Okay.
this. I was the only musical piece I ever wrote. It was just that hook.
You know what I wanted to mention about that? The title, "Death of a Country." I
Yeah.
think that's pretty prophetic for
Yeah.
today, the time that we're living in today. Death of a country. I think that could apply to America, the U.S. right now.
Yeah, although that was more, yeah, well, another thing about Death of a Country, at the end of the album, the,
Mhm.
the atomic bomb goes off.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
the
How did you record that? Talk
it's the
about
first
recording.
atomic bomb at Yucca Flats. So we
Right.
got the
Right.
thing, and what we did, we tried it fast, we tried it slow, moved forwards, backwards, trying to make it sound right. We finally settled on slow and backwards.
And backwards. Well, it worked. It worked.
Oh, here's the bands I played with: Steppenwolf, Guess Who, James Gang, Mountain, Ike Tina Turner, Fleetwood Mac, Blood Rock, Uriah Heep, Cactus, Dr. John, The Byrds, Alice Cooper, Allman Brothers, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Three Dog Night, Chuck Berry, B.B. King, Jake Isle, Billy Preston, Peter Frampton, Doobie Brothers, Yes, Jethro Tull, Joe Cocker, Sabir Brown, Steve Miller, Buddy Miles, Bob Seger, and the Funkadelics.
That's another odd
The
one.
whiskey. Yeah, that's all the notes I have, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yes,
I think we covered quite a bit.
it was fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. That's what I want it to be. I want it to be enjoyable. You know?
I'm surprised I remembered as much as that most all the names I was trying to remember. It came to me, you know.
Yeah.
I have a very poor memory, but
Yeah.
I'm all invigorated here. I'm gonna go out and do some. I'm working on my porch, trying to.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Well,
very active.
when you're done, you can come over and work on ours too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, my only construction work I do is for me. You know, I can do all the trades. I do electric, I
Yeah.
do plumbing, and
Oh, really?
so
That kind of.
I do
Well,
computers.
well, how did you guys? Let me ask you this: how did you guys survive those storms that we had recently? Were you,
The wind was incredible.
right, right.
In my backyard, we had a number of years ago. We had 2 or 3 big trees, and it was a number of years ago. A wind like that came through, and it was at night.
Yeah.
And I had this bird thing, that on a metal pole, and I'm outside, and the lightning's flash, and I see this bird thing rising into the sky.
Oh, wow.
And suddenly lightning flashes, and it's the roots coming up, the trees falling over, and the roots just come up, it's pushing it, just fall over. I thought it was something mystic going on. My
Yeah,
God, what's going
mystical.
on?
Am I dreaming?
I have got to run to the head.
Yeah, yeah.
I look forward to seeing the thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony, and I will talk to you soon. Let's keep in touch.
All right, and if I remember anything that's funny, I'll email you.
Okay, do that.
All right,
All right,
thank
Tony.
you. I got to go
All
pee,
right.
folks. Bye-bye.
All right.